Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Let's Tech About It. I'm Ayush and Aman has joined us all the way from LA. We don't have our glasses on, but we are still the same nerds who started this podcast a couple of months ago. You can call us the Nerd Herd, the Geek Squad. There's a bunch of hashtags that have been floating around, but all that we do is we tech about it, right? We don't fight anymore. We just tech about it, Aman.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the days of fighting are gone, and now it's just about having interesting conversations and recording ourselves for everyone out there to listen and tune in and see what we have to think and comment and make fun of us for saying dumb things, which unfortunately isn't happening enough. You guys need to give us a little more grief about what we're saying. That's the only
That's
way to
true.
build the conversation.
That's true. Or we need to stir the hornet's nest and really be controversial. But
Yeah.
today's episode might be, well, a sort of identity crisis for Aman and me, as you've known us as the tech geeks. Now, Aman, as you know, is an architect based out of Los Angeles. I am a television presenter, a content guy based out of Bombay. And well, I do cover a lot of technology and a lot of entertainment and sport and lifestyle. But one thing that it also binds us is the fact that we both are really into fitness. Now, we're not some fitness gurus or self proclaimed experts, but we are really also fitness enthusiasts. Aman, perhaps at the age of 15 or 16, began, well, his fitness journey, and I started shortly after. The good thing is, we were both football players as youngsters, and I think that kept, well, at least our aerobic training or cardio and core a little strong in our lower body. But then I was a really skinny kid, Aman was a really fat kid, and we had to meet somewhere halfway and time our growth spurts accordingly. Now, many years later, we were hit by something called a global pandemic, and we've been separated, miles apart, but we have the same issues. How do we go back to our gyms? Now, Aman and I have done CrossFit together. We've done all sorts of partner workouts. We've gone to the quintessential Gold gyms
It goes
and
gym a
been
lot
gym,
of money.
paid them a lot of money, been gym bros, done all the silly things gym boys do, taken supplements. We've learned some lessons along the way. Again, we're not experts, but we've learned some lessons. Now, when the pandemic hit, Aman and I were a little confused because we thought, well, at the end of the day, we have to maintain our fitness journeys. And that's something that keeps us going mentally, keeps us motivated as well. A lot of you ask me often when I'm doing sessions saying, what do you do, when you're burning out? This is the main thing that Aman and I do, which is to work out. And it became tough when gyms shut down here in India, gyms shut down in the US. And believe you me, a second wave has hit the world again, especially India, and gyms are shutting down as we speak. As of now, the gyms in my city are shut down. People aren't, well, venturing out as much. Aman, I believe in LA to gyms as well. It's a
No,
similar story.
so it's a similar situation. The gyms were closed for over a year. They have only finally opened at a much lower capacity. Gyms started exploring moving all of their equipment up onto the rooftop, putting these giant tents. But very honestly, a lot of people don't feel safe going to gym. I don't know when I will go back to an actual gym environment. I honestly don't think I'm going to do that in 2021. 2022, maybe not. I don't know when that's going to happen because at the end of the day, you can't expect to sanitize a machine every time after someone uses it. It's just not humanly possible. So we've had to evolve. The world has had to evolve, and as always, technology wants to be at the center of it, right? So today we're going to talk about how technology has come in and been the savior that it always is and infiltrated its way into the fitness industry and provided some fantastic options out there for all of us to continue our fitness journeys and stay healthy, stay active, and do all of that in the safe vicinity of our house, or sometimes in our living room, as you and I have been doing, working out just outside of our bedrooms.
So absolutely. And the one thing that I want to tell everyone is that just like Aman and I discuss which phone to buy or which tablet or computer to use or which headphones are really killing it with noise cancellation. And these are genuine purchase decisions that Aman and I make on a daily basis or whenever we need to. So, and we do it for our friends, we do it for our family members. But this is something Aman and I debated on for a long time, much before we launched the podcast. Should Aman get back to buying a barbell and a few dumbbells and working with a personal trainer like I do? Or is there an alternative out there in the US? And this is the alternative that Aman has found. I have a couple of options that I want to discuss with him, but we'll save that for the latter half of this podcast. For now, Aman, you're going to be heading straight to a conversation with your friend.
Yes. We have a very dear friend of mine, Josh. He's a fellow architect as well, a bit of a fitness enthusiast as well, and he's purchased what is called a Tonal. And I'll let you guys listen into our conversation where he goes in a little more detail about what it is, how it works, the interface, and hopefully it'll help you understand what this product is and help you decide if that is something that you want to purchase. Without rambling on, let's get straight into it. So today we're joined by a very close friend of mine. We used to work together. He's an architect as well, and a fellow tech geek, a pixel lover. Let's put it that way. Josh, thank you for being on the show.
Sure, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been wanting to get you on for a while now, and I'm glad we could finally do it. So Josh has gone and purchased a Tonal, and you can see it right behind him. It's sort of this device that is mounted onto the wall, and it's basically a home gym. And I'll let Josh maybe talk about it a little more. But Josh, let's start off with the basics here. So, obviously, traditionally you go to a gym, you have free weights, and you can't do that anymore. And let me pick your brain a little bit. What made you actually go in and buy something like this? And, what do you think of it so far? And how has it helped you, be on track of your fitness goals? And why did you buy it?
Right. So the easy answer is that the pandemic happened. I actually just joined a gym, right, like March of last year. And then I worked out once at the gym, and then the pandemic happened. Everything was shut down. So that was it. That was the end of my gym membership. But my wife and I both really wanted to be more active. Certainly the first half of the pandemic, we were very inactive. And then we decided that we wanted to do something. So we invested in the Tonal. We'd heard about it, read about it, watched YouTube reviews, and I thought this sounds like a really good deal. So I just went out and, ordered it online. It came a few months later, and I've been using it as much as I can, 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm loving it so far.
Let's dive into it a little bit. Talk to me about, the UI. Is it easy to use? How do you actually use it? And I don't know anything about it except for what I hear from you. So why don't you talk to us a little about it?
Right. So, one thing for anyone who's unfamiliar with it, what you can see is it's a giant screen that has these 2 arms that go up and down, and you can adjust the height, and they're adjustable specifically for the different exercises that you do. And then over here, you have different handles, whether it's just separately or together or a bar. And then I'm sitting on the bench itself that it comes with. And then as far as using the software, it's very easy. I mean, they made it easy, I think, intentionally, both for people that are experienced, people that that work out versus people that are new and have never done it before. So the first step is you set up a profile, and what's great about the machine is that it once your profile, it records things, so it does a little physical test. So it makes you you pull weight, you push some weight, and then so it determines how much weight you can handle, and then it records it. And then as you exercise and you progress, it'll add weight, or if it's too much for you, it'll decrease the weight. And
wow, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, I think that's something that always happens to us traditional gym goers, right? You forget the weight you did last time, or you have to write it in your notebook or something like that. So if the machine is sort of remembering it for you and helping you and adjusting it, or if it feels like you're struggling, it reduces the weight, or if increases it, I think that's really great. So one thing that I think about where in India, we have this concept of when you go to a gym of floor trainers, right? And what that means is they're basically a bunch of trainers that are walking around in the gym and are basically there to help anyone and everyone if they need any assistance. And I know that concept sort of doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist here in the United States. When the gyms that I've been to, you almost have to get a personal trainer, which costs a lot of money. And the biggest thing is if you're a newcomer to the gym, you probably don't know what to do. So is there something that Tonal has that it sort of teaches you and creates sort of a program for you, or is it something that you just have to know how to do it?
No, actually, that's what's great is that it teaches you everything. And what's cool too is you can choose. They have different trainers you can choose from, and then also depend and what your goals are. You can determine whether or not if you want to lose weight, you want to gain mass, you want to get lean, and then for each exercise they'll do a demonstration for you. And someone using, like, you watch the video of someone doing the movements, and then it definitely knows, like, if you're doing a pulling exercise where you're pulling the handles towards you, and you're not pulling it quite as far as it expects you to, it'll say try to pull it closer to your ribs, or if you're doing squats, it'll say get lower, So it definitely gives you some helpful guidance, as well as the trainer that's doing narration as you're watching the demonstration will kind of give you tips as you're going along, like concentrate on this muscle group, or so it's very helpful.
Yeah, that's great, because when you have a personal trainer, he sort of will say a few things while you're working out to give you a little bit of confidence, or you'll be like push harder, or go bend lower when you're doing squats, for instance. So I think that's really great, because that's something that I found very useful when I would train, is like having a trainer, or if you're working out with a friend, your friend will be like, no, you got to do it properly, don't cheat.
Right.
So I think that's really great. Do you think something like this would actually last, or is there scope for it getting better? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it can last. I mean, I'm very excited. I don't plan on going to a gym pretty much ever again, now that I've not just because I spent the money, but I really do enjoy using it now. Like the convenience of it, having it home, and but yeah, as far as the future, and certainly from what I understand, they're getting more customers all the time despite the high cost, because that their rate, the company is continuing to get venture capitalists, or investing money in the company so they can help them grow. And they're bringing on, I think, some professional athletes are now getting involved to be endorsing it, like as well as
brand ambassadors.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so it's definitely, and one thing they have been updating some of the software is that when I first purchased it at the time, there's basically, you just did your own thing and that's it. But then since then, they've updated the software where now you can join groups where you can kind of compare your results to other people.
Oh, okay.
So they are starting to try to make it more.
So that's another motivational.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
like motivational. I mean, that was one thing I would, look forward to in the gym. I mean, when I would go there, you see all these big muscled men who are like, solid bodybuilders lifting heavier weights. And, you see these people doing it, and that gives you that inspiration and motivation that, come on, I got to do it too, So I think that's pretty cool, where you can look at what other people are doing and sort of gives you that extra little bit of motivation.
Absolutely,
I mean, one thing that you hit the nail there, where you said it's in your home, and we're architects, we tend to have 60, 70-hour weeks at times. Right. So the saving that little bit of commute of going to a gym is definitely helpful. Do you know, for instance, like, do they have like how many exercises can you possibly do? Does it say something like that?
There probably is one. I don't know. I don't know what it is myself. But yeah,
but you've never struggled, right, to like figure out, and like it keeps telling you newer sort of exercises, for instance.
Yeah,
right?
and then what I've done too is that you have a choice of doing either joining a pre-made program that'll have daily exercises already set up for you, or you can just do your own custom setup. So I've done a couple of programs, and usually they're like 4 or 5 weeks at a time, and they have specific, and they're also usually based on the results you're looking for, and including so I started one where you're a beginner, like new to tonal, so right. It was just sort of more basic movements, and then once I was more comfortable, I started to get into a little bit more intense workouts, and yeah. So, but one thing that's also great I want to add is that as far as the gym, and you mentioned having dumbbells at home, is that if I've worked out in the gym in the past where you're working out with more than one person, you have your bar and you have to put weights on it, but then say the person you're with either wants to do more or less weight, you have to spend the time taking it on and off. But when you have your profile set up with the tonal, it just automatically adjusts for you. You don't have to do anything. So if my wife and I work out together, there's no extra work. We just take turns, and the machine adjusts for us.
If next time we have Josh on the podcast, if you don't recognize him because he's all big and muscular and chisel face, right. You know who to blame or what to blame. The tonal is probably doing its work.
Yeah.
we know where you are. You probably are never going back to an actual gym.
Nah, like having my own shower, and I don't have to worry about seeing other naked people around, and you know.
Oh my God, yes. I was shocked the first time when I went to a gym, and you find like older men
Yeah.
just walking around without a towel, and I'm just like all conscious trying to wrap myself as the best I can. But no,
Right.
you're right. It's nice to just be at home and be able to really not be intimidated by other people, or just
Yeah,
be
exactly.
yourself and actually be able to push yourself to it, to do it. Because I have dumbbells at home, and if I don't have a trainer, I am not working out.
Right.
Because it's just, even though, I mean, I have experience and I know what I can do, but you don't have that motivation or someone telling you. So I could definitely see how something like a tonal would actually help be that motivating factor for you to actually get up every day and, put your Superman outfit and go to the gym.
Right.
Is there any way that you can sync the tonal to your watch or a phone, or is there, some way where you can access that data?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So there's an app for your Android phone and Apple phones, which is great because it's almost the same interface that's on, that's on the machine that you can. So it has a calendar, so you can see what days you worked out, what workout you did. It's like having a notebook, but you can also preview like what tomorrow's workout is going to be if you're on a program. Right. And you can also scroll through and see which programs or which trainers you want to work with all on your phone. And then as far as watches, I understand you can use an Apple Watch. You can sync them so they can do the heart rate monitor. But I think only Apple at this time, not Android or anything else.
Tonal, if you're listening, you need to get your socks up and get it available for all our Android lovers out there.
Right.
And, I don't believe that the Tonal is available in India right now, but for our American listeners, if you're interested in getting it, and if you maybe want to reach out to Josh, I'm going to leave his social media in the section below. I'm sure Josh has already done a good enough job to convince you. He's convinced me for sure. There's a part of me that's like, just spend the money and get it. But, hopefully once the pandemic is over and it's safe, I'm going to bug Josh and go over to his house and use it for myself. But again, thank you so much, Josh, for coming on. I think this was fun. It's not going to be the last time. I'm sure we're going to get you on for more geeky conversations. But, until then, keep working out, keep being fit, staying safe, staying healthy, and we will catch up with you very soon.
Okay, great. Thank you again. See you next time.
Well, Aman. So Josh and you clearly have made up your minds on something that you're impressed with. But then you come from a land where everyone is really experimenting with all these things, where Apple Fitness Plus is actually running on as a subscription service, which hasn't begun yet in India. You also have a bunch of other smart home gym equipments which you can use, right? So I understood this whole bit about the tonal, but I just want to share with our viewers and listeners what the other options available out there are, and then very quickly discuss them with you and tell you why I agree and why I disagree and what I think are the advantages and disadvantages. Yep. Okay, Aman and Josh very nicely laid out what the tonal is like. Fantastic piece of equipment. Very expensive.
It's actually $3,000, and then there's also an installation fee because it can only be expertly installed because it has to be, it has to be fastened to the wall in a certain way so that it doesn't fall off, obviously. So these, all of the products that we're going to talk about, they have a slightly higher initial investment. And also, of course, here in the US, we are lucky to have a lot of monthly installment options, which, it does help make it a little easier. But yes, it is a big investment that you have to, make your peace with it.
It's something to get used to adapt, to acclimatize for someone who's been hitting a gym regularly or doing CrossFit or playing a sport or doing some sort of functional training. The tonal comes with this completely different user experience. But yes, if we're living in a post-pandemic world or a pandemic world where we are wary of the situation outside, and like Aman said, heading to a gym, I understand why it might make sense for someone who can actually invest in this to actually go ahead and make that decision. And also, if you actually come and talk about the costs, even in the US and even in India, well, the costs of gym and gym equipment has really been spiraling and hitting, abnormal highs, at least before the pandemic, right? Like we could spend, just like in the US, they spend around $50, $60 on a membership per month. Even we at a good gym would be spending 3,000 to 6,000 rupees a month in Bombay or Delhi. So things have become expensive. Personal training is something altogether which is another price point altogether. But the Tonal is one piece of equipment which is interesting. It runs on this, it uses magnets and electricity, this electromagnetic sort of resistance training. So it takes some time getting used to it. It has its pros and cons. Then again, there's the tempo, something that I actually dissuaded Aman from buying earlier. But now when I'm pitting it against the Tonal, I personally am finding it very interesting, but it has its shortcomings. And then there's another fad in the United States called the mirror. Now, for the purpose of this conversation, Aman, should we consider the mirror at all?
I think the mirror is an iPad on steroids with a mirror in front of you. I understand it, I get it, but I don't think it's worth $1,500. If it was $500, sure, make the investment. But I think for the sake of this conversation, and I was going to say, this is the beauty of it, right? You dissuaded me to buy something, and then as time has evolved, we've learned that actually, you know what, this is the real deal, and this actually can be something that's extremely effective. So that's the beauty of it, and that's why we're teching about it, right? We've come back, and now we're going to talk about the tempo and the tonal, and maybe this conversation and this episode has convinced me and everyone out there that maybe it's the, maybe tonal is the future, or maybe it's the tempo. But let's cut to it. Let's start. Let's tell our viewers what the tempo is.
So for the guys who are actually watching this, I want to put out at least 3 images. And I know we've already kicked out the mirror from the race, but just so that people know what the future of home fitness equipment is, what the future of fitness is like, smart gym equipment. It's not just these wearables tracking your metrics. There are full-fledged home gyms which will look just like a cupboard and will have everything within it. So when we're talking about the 3 today, well, there's the Tonal, which is what Aman was discussing earlier in the podcast. Well, they've used it out there. It looks fascinating. I don't know how and whether it would work in India, but it's got these 2 rods which are adjustable. It's got, of course, this resistance-based electromagnetic resistance, and you can do all sorts of things. It comes with a bench as well, which obviously Aman's friend was sitting on for the podcast while he was recording with us. So clearly it's a multi-purpose bench, and it takes up a limited portion of your bedroom or living room. So it's kind of quite nifty and quite compact. Then you have the tempo, which is something I was very impressed with when Aman pitched it to me. Also very expensive. Aman will break down the price for you in a bit. But the tempo is a really classy looking, sleek looking, again, mirror. I won't say mirror for the sake of this conversation. I'll say
it's a screen.
It's a massive screen, which comes with essentially, a housing cabinet where you can keep all your weights. So there are dumbbells, there are barbells, there are plates, and there's all sorts of stuff. That doesn't come with a bench, but that thing can go, I think, into 100, 150 pounds, something like that, Aman?
Yeah, so actually, since we, the tempo, the base version, it just is the little, the housing that you mentioned, the cupboard with all of it. And it starts at, I think, at $2,500, and there's multiple EMI options, but they've actually introduced now a Tempo Plus and a Tempo Pro, which includes a bar, which includes additional, I think I said that wrong. It includes a bench, an adjustable bench where you can do inclined exercises, and also includes a secondary set of additional plates to add on for extra weight for, the heavy lifters out there. And that goes in at, I think, 3,200 or 3,250. And then you have something that's called the Tempo Pro, which is an even more advanced bench and an even bigger set of additional weights, which goes up to $4,000.
So I'll tell you something, Aman, the cool thing about this whole sort of setup is I understand the sort of restrictions we have in big cities, in smaller apartments with space. So sometimes getting a whole dumbbell rack for a lot of us doesn't work. I have 5 pairs of dumbbells. I've been a little lucky, and I've just become a dumbbell collector during the lockdown. And I have bands and a bar, but yes, sometimes it gets tough to maneuver. And I bought those portable benches, which are actually fitness decks, which are not ideal for more than 50 to 60 kilos of me, me doing some chest or something on it. But you get the job done. When you're doing a home workout, I put on my iPad or my iPhone, and I have my personal trainer who I've never met in person, and he trains me.
Too.
So
he trains both of us, actually.
So I think it works out for me. But now I understand, if I want to be in a space where the tempo comes in and I have those weights, and if I can invest a little bit more, then I get more variety. I also get a heart rate monitor for whatever it's worth, which is synced to it. And I also
Right.
get a foam roller and all the small little bells and whistles.
Yeah.
But what it essentially does is it can well train me with a trainer. One thing that I really appreciate about the tempo over the tonal, Aman, is, and I'm going to focus on the tempo a bit and why I like it, because you've already discussed the tonal at length, with your colleague, with your friend. What I think the tempo does really interestingly is the fact that it gives me that sort of freedom where I'm not tied down to that piece of equipment, but that piece of equipment is still not a dumb piece of equipment. It's actually, well, it's aiding me or really sorting me out in my workout. But that's where I was very impressed with the tonal. And this is why I thought that if you can get over this whole mindset shift of, okay, this is resistance-based training. I know a bunch of guys in the US who are bodybuilders who now just moved to resistance bands. But if you can get into this whole electromagnetic resistance, I'd love to try it. I've seen it in a couple of gyms over here. One or two equipments do use that technology. But if you get used to this tech, that thing would mean you never need a spotter. What's a spotter? When Aman and I went to the gym, the reason Aman and I, we bonded with a third friend, is the bromance that we gym boys have, right? What we do is we can only lift maybe, say, 80 kilos on that bench press. And all of a sudden you want to lift 100 and you know you're going to be crappy with your form. So what do? So then you call Aman and you say, Aman, can you spot me, please? And then he comes out there and actually it's Aman doing his bicep when he's lifting it for me.
And Ayush is doing his chest.
I'm just pretending to do my chest. So that's what a spotter does. Gym bros, some of them are better at it. Some of them are really lousy at it. We had a friend who almost dropped the weights on us because he was distracted when a pretty girl came by. So there are issues with human beings here. So would robots do a better job? I think what your friend was saying and what I've seen based on the videos, if it has that spotter mode and an eccentric mode, that means that it will adjust based on how well you're doing the workout. It has a great field of motion, and it also counts your reps. So if it can adaptively spot me, that means while I am lifting it and it gets a little, basically it's like doing a drop set on steroids.
Exactly.
And I think that is a very, very cool proposition. I'm just scared that if, like Elon Musk says, that when AI takes over and the robots take over, this guy shouldn't kill me, right? So the tonal should be my friend and not my enemy.
So, that's the biggest thing that right now, both of us, you and I have a bit of an issue with, because we're working out on our own at home. Our trainers, on a screen, in through Zoom or whatever other, mode there is. When we've reached our third set and we're lifting, 50 kilos and doing chest press or whatever it is, you want to do at least 10 reps, but you're struggling after 6 or 7. And it's like, either you stop, you take a break, or you cheat those last few, and it doesn't feel as good. So that was the thing that impressed me with the tonal a lot. And, hopefully once the pandemic clears out, I'm going to go over to my friend's house and take actually use it for myself. But if it can reduce that weight slightly by knowing that, I'm struggling, and allow me to finish those 10 reps, keeping my form consistent, that's a game breaker. That's definitely a game changer for me. But so here's the thing, right? And that's why now now we come to the tempo, where the tempo, obviously, at the end of the day, it's you still have dumbbells and weights, but what the tempo does is it has an AI camera embedded in the cupboard, and that camera, it actually is looking at you, but it's not looking at you. It's looking at your skeleton. It's looking at your bones, and it's checking your form, and it gives you alerts on the screen saying, check form for squats. Don't let your knees go in front of your toes. That is smart. That is definitely futuristic.
That's one thing, Aman. And you're right. When we're doing a Zoom call, beyond a point, you have to fix angles so you can show your trainer how you're doing a deadlift. But so this is where the tempo really scores over the tonal for me as well. We're talking about an age where we're so connected now that privacy has become a concern, right? Security has become a concern. I don't know about the tonal. I know that, the tonal has, both of them, one of them has a 42-inch screen, one of them has a 24-inch. It's 42 inches on the tempo and 24 inches on the tonal. When Aman spoke about the AI camera on the tempo, even if you're doing a personal training class, what's really interesting about it is the trainer will never be able to see what Aman's wearing today, or what our background's like, or how I haven't made my bed behind me. All he sees is a 3D stick figure. So
Yes.
privacy, 10 on 10, right? Security, great. There's no, often we've had like, I know it's a creepy thing to talk about, but I've had a lot of my friends, men and women, actually complain about trainers being a little creepy sometimes in gyms. And sometimes they become too friendly. If you're worried about a random person coming into your living room through Zoom during a pandemic, this really sorts that out. I know it sounds silly, but when you actually start working out, you do feel conscious about some things, right?
And one thing I have to talk about, and both of these machines or both of these products do it fantastically. And I might sound really stupid here, but when I'm working out and I'm focusing on my motion, I'm focusing on my form. I'm also, the other thing that our trainer constantly is telling me is to breathe out at the correct, during the correct part of your movement. And when you're doing all of that, you sometimes lose track of your count. Now, both the tonal and the tempo through the AI camera, and the tonal, obviously, because the equipment is connected to the system, it keeps count of your reps and it shows you on screen how many you've done. So I think that is something that is kind of cool. And
the tonal has the advantage because it's using this electromagnetic sort of system that you're not restricted to physical weights. So this can go up to 200 pounds. So if you're telling me you can go up to maybe 80 to 90 kilos, that's as much as the best gyms would offer you. I mean, you would have, most of us would be using those weights at a gym, unless you're some top level weightlifter or power lifter. But this is where I want to come in now. I didn't want to get into the exact bit on the science, on the gym science of it, because look, there is the power lifter, there is an advanced sort of lifter, or there is someone who's been in it even for as long as you and I. And this is exactly, now I'm remembering, this is deja vu, why I told Aman, do not purchase it. Because Aman has, and I, both of us, have nearly been going to the gym on and off or doing some form of training, resistance, functional, 10 to 15 years, 10 years on and off, right? 10 to 15 years. Now that is a little above intermediate. And you are slightly into the advanced set, right? At the end of the day, when we go into group classes, Aman and I are perhaps deadlifting the most at the back out there, or we're doing some crazy things on shrugs. We've been corrected over the years and we've injured ourselves. We've done all sorts of silly things, much before technology took over. So if you are an advanced, gym bro or an advanced CrossFit guy or a top level fitness enthusiast, then none of these things are for you. I think it's great for beginners. I think it's great for a family because you can have different profiles, husband, wife, mother, father, anyone can use it at different times. I think it's great if you want that competitive streak, if you can't motivate yourself because you have leaderboards, like Aman and I motivate ourselves randomly on the Apple Watch. When Aman finishes a workout, I get a notification on my watch, and usually his day is my night. So both of us, keep ourselves pretty much on our heels.
Yeah, and I think that's like one thing about when you go to a gym, right? You see other people and that motivates you. So this was one way that motivates me. I see Ayush finish a workout. I'm like, okay, I got to get my workout in today. So it's definitely there's an advantage to that. And the tonal, I believe that the tempo, you can see a leaderboard of completely different people who've done the same workout. And one thing we didn't mention though, the one big difference between the tempo and the tonal is completely pre-programmed, where everything is inbuilt in the software. You get multiple updates, as and when they improve workouts, new workouts come in. But one thing that I think the tempo is a step above is Tempo offers live classes where you can join a live trainer who is, creating a workout on the fly for you. It also has its preset programs, but I thought that was kind of cool where it goes back to why people join some of the highest end gyms here, like Equinox. They join it only for the classes, only for, these group classes. So
that's very true, Aman. And that's similarly why people are joining programs out here like Your Fit or Cult, because they want that similar thing. And I think it's taken the world by storm altogether. Although personally, I believe if you have a great personal trainer or you have an empty gym with equipment, nothing beats that. I'm very old school about that. But there's one disadvantage, guys, whether you're a beginner, you're advanced, and this is something no one talks about, but it's silly because in a pandemic also, sometimes what I have been doing is I go for a project to a city and then I work from there, or we go to the mountains and we work from there, or we go to a beach and we work from there. I think people are doing this. This work from anywhere culture has sort of permeated all over our millennial lives. And I feel like that's where Tonal, Tempo, Mirror, all of them are flops. Because what I do is, if I'm driving down, I take 2 dumbbells and I know I can do it. If it's not, then I just do a body weight workout, or I go to that local gym, or I just take resistance bands with me. You can't do that if you're relying on these machines for a sort of full regimen or a full program. I think that's one disadvantage.
All those days back when we talked about the Tempo and the Tonal, when we first looked at it and you dissuaded me from it, I had sort of switched it off from my mind. And this conversation, firstly, with Josh and, us talking about it has almost like reopened the can. And I'm just like so tempted to like spend the money and buy one of these things, because you and I both know, like, we both love tech, and when it comes to like a piece of technology that's so innovative, I'm just like, I want it. And it's almost like you spend that kind of money that you will spend on it, and it's sort of it's an added motivation that I spend so much money, my hard-earned money, and now it's like I need to use it. But maybe. Anyways,
maybe no, I don't think, I still don't recommend you pick it up, because it'll only be a fad. You're going to use it for a while and then you'll junk it, because you'll want to progressively overload or do more things, or maybe go to a gym or go outdoors and work out. You never know. So I don't think you should invest in it. But yeah, you should try it out for the tech element. Or maybe you should write to Tonal or Tempo and tell them that, guys, we're doing another Let's Tech About It episode. So send it to our houses and we can try it out either way. But I think you should thank Josh. It's been fantastic that at least we got someone actually using it, because our whole objective is to get people to understand exactly how that tech works. Everyone stay safe and keep working out. Tonal, Tempo, Mirror, dumbbells, whatever Aman and I recommend. Just do whatever suits you and do whatever fits your needs, but keep working out, maintain a healthy diet, because it looks like this work from home and workout from home culture is going to continue.
So one thing we've learned, Ayush, work from home is here to stay. Work out from home or anywhere is here to stay. So, everyone continue innovating, continue finding new ways, and continue to stay safe.
And continue listening to the Let's Tech About It podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, because this actually is your ideal companion when you're actually working out or your things aren't working out in life. Yeah, like Aman said, stay safe, keep innovating, just like the tech world. We are going to be back very soon, perhaps with a few more interesting topics like this. Tell us what you thought about it. Mail us, Let's Tech About It, on letstechpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Goodbye for now.